Okay, guys, so we are going to continue reading this story called Arctic Life. Yesterday, I just kind of introduced it and I read it to you. And then so today we are going to read it again. And I want to encourage you, if you want to read along with me at home, you are welcome to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and start on our book called Arctic Life. Okay. At the top of the world is the Arctic, a place of ice and snow, of white hares and polar bears. It is cold most of the year, yet plants, animals, and people survive there. How do Arctic plants survive? Some plants grow low. They snuggle close to the soil that is warm on days when the sun appears. Some plants grow fuzz. The fuzz protects their stems and leaves from cold, dry wind. Some plants grow fast. Their flowers open and make seeds as soon as spring sunshine melts the snow. How do Arctic animals survive? Some animals grow fuzz. A bumblebee's fuzz is like a coat that keeps it warm. Some animals grow fur. An Arctic fox's thick fur gets even thicker in winter. Its furry feet act like fluffy snowshoes. Some animals grow fat. A polar bear eats plump seals to get fat. A fat bear can live for weeks without eating. Snowy white fur helps the bear hide it as it sneaks up on seals. Some animals grow feathers. A ptarmigan's legs and feet are fluffy with feathers that keep it warm and help it walk on snow. Some animals turn white. An Arctic hare is gray in summer and white in winter. Being snowy white helps it hide from owls and foxes. How do Arctic people survive? Some people wear warm boots and coats made of caribou skin. They hunt whales and other animals for food. Many Arctic people also buy food in stores. They buy warm clothes there too. Some people travel by dog sled, but most drive snowmobiles. Plants, animals, and people have lived in the Arctic for thousands of years. They are right at home in the land of ice and snow. All right, and that is the end. So now that we have read this story 2 times, I'm going to go ahead and have you guys be thinking in your brains, or you can talk with your mom or dad at home about some of these questions I'm going to ask you, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is how animals and plants, they adapt to their environment, okay? And adapt means how do they survive in that special place where they live, okay? So I want you to think, in this book, where did we read about a special way that plants or animals can live there? Okay, so I'm already thinking in my brain about the very first thing it told us in this book. And I'm going to go back to the beginning about these plants. It tells us that these plants, they grow close to the ground, to the soil, because that's where it's warmest and they need heat. So I'm going to put this cool little stamp on it. I think a star maybe, because this is a place where it tells us what animals or plants do to survive. Okay, so let's see if we can find something that animals have that makes them special to survive in the Arctic. Still on plants. Okay, now we're on animals. So this page tells us that some animals grow fuzz. A bumblebee's fuzz is like a coat that keeps it warm. So that is a way that this animal can adapt to that environment. They have fuzz on their body on purpose to keep them warm in the cold winter. Okay? All right, guys, awesome job. I want you to think in your brains, can you share an example of another way that you know animals adapt that maybe this book doesn't tell us? I know during discovery time we have read a lot of different ways that animals can adapt to their environments. I'm trying to think of some we've talked about. Even animals that are camouflage, right? That helps keep them safe from their predators because they just blend in. Pretty cool. Okay, there's one more thing I want to do. Let's go back to page 4. Okay. What we're going to do on this page is we're just going to talk about some nonfiction text features. So things that we see in nonfiction books. This page has kind of a like its own title, right? And what we would call that is a heading. In a nonfiction book, we would call that a heading. So I'm going to underline the heading here. How do Arctic plants survive? That's the heading, all right? And then, so each section has its own heading. So this one is how do Arctic plants survive? And then we have another heading, how do Arctic animals survive? And then we have another one about how do Arctic people survive? So those are the, sorry guys. Those are the headings. If we were reading a fiction book, sometimes we would call these like the chapter titles. But in a nonfiction book, it's called a heading, okay? There we go. All right, guys, so we will read this book again tomorrow and go over some other new things. So things that I want you to remember today are we talked about how animals and plants can adapt to their environment, and what that means is how do their bodies or things about them change in order to survive in a different environment. Okay, and the other thing I need you to remember is the word headings. Headings are like the chapter titles of nonfiction books. All right, bye guys.